So how do you remember the 2024 Auburn Tigers? What's the story of this team? What's the legacy? That's what we're discussing today on a brand new Village Vice. He is Zach Blackerby. I'm Brad Law. Today's show is brought to you by mybookie.ag, a new promotion that far exceeds any other promotion. You talk about Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday, Black Friday. This is just MyBookie for the next few weeks. They're running a promotion just for our audience, a 300% deposit bonus for the casino and 50 free spins when you use the promo code next round. That's crazy. 300% deposit. That means if you deposit 100, they're going to give you 300. 300% deposit bonus plus 50 free spins in the casino. Use promo code next round. All right, Zach.
Yes.
It's going to be a busy week with recruiting and the transfer portal. Hardy is already there, the running back from ULM, who we saw a month ago. There's some interesting names, interesting positions of need. But before we get there, the next 2 months are going to be full of portal talk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So before we get there, how do we remember this Auburn football team, the 2024 Auburn Tigers? What are some of the first words that come to mind when you think of this team?
Wow, I don't want to be too negative. I hate how you asked me that.
I'm sorry.
I mean, the first that come to my mind is like disappointing.
Yeah, they underachieved.
Yeah. Bummer.
Yeah.
Close.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't finish. Hyphenated.
Hyphenated.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all just like it wasn't good enough, right? I mean, that's what it all kind of boils down to is the record and overall production and the inability to score points and all of that. Like it wasn't good enough in 2024.
There are some teams that I feel like have a period at the end of their sentence. Like the 2010 Auburn Tigers. They were a national championship team. They're forever national champions, period. There's no carryover to 2011. There was none. There were so many seniors. There were so many, and you think about the guy, how Trey Mason played in 2011, didn't play in 2010. Though, like Trey Mason in 2010 feel like there's a decade between them.
Sure.
Okay. I think there's a comma at the end of this team rather than a period.
Wow.
Because there are so much, and we talked about it all year long.
Yeah.
Regardless of the results, there's so much youth on this team, particularly the defense, the youngest defense in the country, measured by freshman snaps. They made improvement. And so I think we could maybe, it's not a given, but we might look back at this team in 2 years and look at them in the same way that we look at and maybe not everybody does this. I don't know. Do you look back at the 2015 team and think about how, all right, Will Muschamp came in for 1 year, took all the senior DBs off the field, put all the freshman DBs on the field, and kind of laid the foundation for some of those Kevin Steele defenses. And by 2017, that was a ferocious defense. Well, it started with 2015. We might talk about this team the same way in a couple of years.
We could. I haven't really thought about the 2015 Auburn team in a hot minute, but sure. The argument has been made, and there was that clip going around about, what Hugh Freeze said to, Eugene Asante and Jarquez Hunter and say like, sorry that you didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
And experience Auburn at the level that we're going to get it to and all of that. But sure, I'm sure there's some truth in that. I mean, that's the goal, right? Because you don't want to waste a year. And it almost feels like we did waste a year with how close things were and how like you just couldn't follow through and finish and beat teams that you should be able to beat from a talent perspective. If you're better in 2025 and even better in 2026, I guess it makes us feel better that maybe we didn't waste this year. But I don't know. Sometimes you just fail. Sometimes it just it's that episode in The Office where like Ryan and Dwight are walking away from. He's like, well, what did I do wrong? It's like, not everything's a lesson, Ryan. Sometimes you just fail. And I mean, we don't know. We don't know exactly what this season's going to do for, future seasons, but it's hard to not be excited about the future of this defense. No
Yeah.
question about it.
Yeah. I guess one of the questions that you have to ask is do you attribute coming up short in the individual games? Because I could come on, and I thought about doing this, but decided against it. Coming on and making the argument that this could have been a 10-2 team.
I'm glad you didn't do that.
But I'm not going to come on, I don't want to come on and make that argument because they're 5-7. That's what they are. And they were close. They were very close. Do you attribute, and this is just kind of what kind of fan you are. This is almost like a big round table discussion with everybody watching rather than just a two-man discussion. But, are you the kind of fan who says they were close, and once you get 2 or 3 more recruiting classes like the 24 class, you're not going to be in games that come down to 1 or 2 coaching decisions or points of execution. It's, you're going to have more of a talent advantage than you had this year. And you're going to, because of scheme and whatnot, you'll be better.
Sure.
Or are you the kind of fan who says you didn't lose most games that were lost this year because of a talent discrepancy? They're calls. They're individual calls. If you go back to 3-4 plays a game where you go, if this is called differently, offensively or defensively, or how much does talent impact discipline? If you have a 3 and out that you force defensively, but you have a late hit out of bounds and you keep a drive going and they drive 4 more minutes and get a touchdown, does that not happen if there's more talent on the field? Or is it so? Are you in the talent camp or are you in the coaching camp? And I think that determines how you judge this season in totality.
Yeah, and the truth of that is probably both. It's probably a combination of both. Like, more talent makes everything easier. Really good coaches typically have really good players.
Mm-hmm.
But my biggest question about the future of this program is the latter. Is Auburn's roster was talented enough to win more games.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to be significantly more talented than Arkansas or significantly more talented than Cal, then should you be the head coach? And to me, I think that's the biggest question. I get the argument more talent's going to make it easier. Your margin of error shrinks when you have a better team. Nobody's arguing that.
Yeah.
And that's what Auburn needs to do to win. That's what they need to do to win. But I know you said we weren't going to talk specifically about the Iron Bowl, but I mean, that game plan was a joke.
Yeah.
There was nothing about that game plan that was like, yes, we're going to emphasize our strengths to win the most important game to an Auburn head coach, according to the head coach earlier this week. That didn't have anything to do with talent.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Brad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have concerns with the overall scheme.
Yeah. And I think, again, this is not a linear discussion. It's not black and white. It's not A or B. It's probably a little bit of everything. I think it's reasonable to argue or to make the point that, all right, let's say your offensive line, you raise the talent overall of your offensive line. I don't think the offensive line was bad. I don't think it was bad. Okay.
I agree with you. Yeah, there's this discussion that the offensive line was the problem, and I don't agree with it.
No, I don't think it's a problem. But let's say you have 3 NFL players on the offensive line 2 years from now. And on first down, a run that went for a yard this year or went for 2 yards this year goes for 4 or 5. Well, now your second down play calling is different when you're 2nd and 5 than it is at 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 9. And maybe you're those little things add up. And so,
but sure. Yeah. And I agree that little stuff adds up. No, I'm not pushing back against that, but I don't think that's the problem. I don't think the inability to run the ball on first down is the problem. And I know that's just an example that you use. I'm not, but getting an extra yard on first down is a big deal. But if you get to the 15 and you throw away your offense, and you want to chunk it deep as you possibly can, and avoid this running game that got you to the red zone, I don't think it matters what kind of talent you have if you're just going to throw it away once you get to the important part of the field. Which
goes back to the coaching. So again, it's the camp that you're in, and I get that's why we have the discussion, just to kind of bring light to the fact that it's not one thing. You can't put a problem in a tiny little basket, float the basket down the river and say it's fixed. Like, it's not that simple.
And I wish we could.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot easier if that was the case. But some of these game plans, man, and just overall communication, and I've talked to folks, it sounds like the communication is a priority number one this offseason. That's part of what's being discussed from some of the coaching staff to some of the players that, are they going to be here or not next year?
Yeah.
That has been something that has been brought up by multiple players to the staff in their exit interviews and all of that, and just the discussions that they're having pre-portal opening on Monday, is communication wasn't good. And it sounds like the top has heard that. And so we'll see if that fixes itself.
Yeah, you got to have, that's a football team, a business, a family, like in anything. You got to have communication, and it's got to be clear. It's got to, your authority, your communication, your leadership, your vision, all of that have to be very, very clear. So, you know what's very clear, Zach, is you look like $1 million today in your Roback.
Hey, you do too.
Thanks.
You do too.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it.
How comfortable are you right now?
Insanely comfortable. And I went with the rare dress shirt hoodie combo because it's that chilly and this is that comfortable.
Wow.
I promise you, you're going to want, you can wear this thing to work.
Did you pay full price for that?
No, I didn't. Well, no, I didn't pay full price, Zach, because I used promo code VICE20 at Roback.com, RHOBACK, Roback.com. If you haven't done your Christmas shopping yet, load that cart. Load it up with hoodies and quarter zips and polos, and for the men and women in your life, they will love it. They'll feel extra special that you got them Roback. Use our promo code VICE20 at checkout. Take the promo code they automatically put in, take it out, put VICE20 in there, and save yourself 20% at Roback.com. All right, so I don't want to be negative and start with the underachieving group. What do you think was what position group or groups overachieved or reached their potential in 2024?
Corners were good. I think the DBs as a whole were pretty solid, minus a few individuals. And I think the folks that ended up as the starters were great.
I agree. I think if you said you're going to have injuries at that position, you're going to lose one of your best before the halfway point of the season, and you're going to have a true freshman, a true sophomore. Sylvester Smith, who's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, either that or a true sophomore. Yeah,
Caleb Harris, true freshman. Sophomores playing the bulk of your snaps in the secondary, and they're going to play like they did.
And then I think Jaron Thompson got better over the course of the year too. So I would say DBs. I think the linebackers were solid for the most part.
Yeah, Dorian Mausi's addition to that group was big. Frankly, I thought not that I had low expectations, but I thought he overperformed what I expected coming in.
Yeah, and it's a nice mix of Mausi. Eugene Asante, I think, didn't play as large of a role as I thought, but he certainly had games that I thought were impressive. And then you have the emergence of Demarcus Riddick. So I would say linebacker is there. Defensive line was better than I thought it would be this year. The pass rush was better than I thought. So, I'll go all three levels of the defense. Sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think so then that brings probably a tip of the cap to DJ Durkin, Charles Kelly, Wes McGriff, those guys in the secondary, the linebackers. Overall defense, you could see some measurable improvement from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. I don't think the Iron Bowl was their best game. I thought there were stretches there that they didn't play particularly well, and Alabama has something to do with that. You knew listen, the way they played against Oklahoma, you knew they weren't going to play that poorly again. You knew you were going to get their very best. Jalen Milrose had 2 games of 250 passing and 100 rushing yards, 3 of them. 2 of them have come against Auburn. You knew you were going to get their best.
Yeah, I'm going to push back a little bit on that. I think the defense was I don't think the defense was the problem in that game. I think they forced 4 turnovers.
They did.
Did Auburn score off of a turnover?
Maybe 3 points.
That's just not acceptable. It's just not okay.
I agree. And I'm not here to criticize the defense, but I'm telling you, the Alabama offense had their way on their first 2 drives of the third quarter.
Yeah, and Alabama's a good team.
Yes.
Alabama's they're a good team. Jalen Milroe's a good quarterback. I know the Alabama fans it's hard to keep up if they love him or if they hate him. But
Sure.
like Milroe's a good quarterback. Ryan Williams is exceptional. Their other receiver, I'm blanking on his name, Bernard.
Jeremy Bernard.
We didn't have an answer for him. You could tell the attention was elsewhere, and he took advantage of that mismatch. And props to them for figuring all of that out. And yeah, I like Milroe as a quarterback a ton. So I don't. If you would have told me though going into it that the Auburn defense was going to force 4 turnovers, I would have said Auburn wins the football game.
I would have too. Yeah, no, I would have too. But when they weren't and I'm not pinning the loss on the defense. I just mean they probably had 5-6 better games defensively than the Iron Bowl. So no, as a whole, I thought that group of DJ Durkin, Charles Kelly, Vontrell King-Williams, some new guys on the on-field coaching staff were probably the high point, and you saw the most improvement from the start of the year to the end of the year out of those groups. And as you look ahead to 2025, depending on what, again, who knows how many coaches are going to be on the staff. And I mean, there was a lot of change last year. Auburn replaced both coordinators last year. You just never know. And that's why you have to hang on and ride the month of November. But if you keep some congruency there, I think that's a reason to be optimistic heading into 25.
Yeah, the defensive staff. I mean, I had questions about Vontrell King-Williams, and he's been nothing short of stellar, I think, since he took over late in the offseason process last year. So good for him. Good for him. Yep. The offense, I mean, it just needs to be blown up, and you've got to rebuild it. I mean, I've said it all year. The offense seems systematically broken. You're going to have to add receivers. Yeah. You're going to have to add tackles.
How many receivers do you think from the portal that they need to add? Because KLS, you're going to
So I got some crap on Twitter about this yesterday. So let's just go over this together. Okay. I used the word rebuild. Maybe it was too dramatic.
Okay.
Whatever. If you want to argue about semantics, that's fine. You've got your 4 freshmen with not Ryan. Wow. Goodness gracious. Cam Coleman.
Yeah.
Bryce Kane, Perry, Malcolm. You've got your freeze 4. And then after that, I don't know who's guaranteed to stay. Does Sam Jackson stay? I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Caleb Burton, I think, leaves.
Camden Brown.
I don't know.
I don't know, man. If Cam stayed last year, I wouldn't understand leaving now if he stayed prior to this year.
Well, when he stayed last year, I don't think there was a clear cut, like, are these 2 guys on the outside better than me? Now they are.
Okay.
Now they are. Unless they want to promise him the guy opposite Cam Coleman, which I don't think they're going to do. I think they're going to promise that to either a transfer guy or to Perry.
Yeah.
At least a shot at it. So, but even like if you lose 2 of those 3 guys, which I don't think is crazy to say, you have 5 receivers returning. You have Derek and Eric Smith coming in. Derek Smith may be able to contribute. I'm not sure Eric's a day 1 contributor. We'll see.
Yeah.
He gives you size. Can you use certain thing, use him in certain packages or something? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I think you add 2. To answer your question, I think you add 2.
Well, there's no doubt. I think you go out and try to get a number 1 from somewhere else and follow the KLS template.
Yeah, and you got to think that's an easier pitch now than it was a year ago because you've done it. There's also the element of Rivaldo played a ton of snaps. And were those snaps as him as a tight end or him as a large slot receiver? Because unless they get a major tight end, like they're not going to use their tight end that way next year. Probably not. There are exceptions and variables to that, but like you're losing a lot of snaps there as a receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to just put any tight end the way that they used him.
Yeah.
Detached from the line. So I think that's another element to this too.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it makes sense to replace Rivaldo, and with Micah going to the portal, I think it makes sense to add a transfer. But I don't know how much Rico Walker is in the picture for playing time next year, ready to step in and be the guy.
He may have to be.
I don't know. Yeah.
He may have to be. I mean, it's going to be him or some of these freshmen coming in.
Right.
Hollis has a shot. He's super athletic. Ryan G, I think, is going to be more of your Luke Deal type role. Few people told me that like they're trying to get something for Brandon Frazier, the medical red shirt. So we'll see. I don't know how real that is or not. So we'll see. That'd be great. But I still think you need to go out and get another guy and get a guy that's a little bit more dynamic. So
that's you know what? That's an underrated talking point. How much of a difference in the offense would Brandon Frazier have made this year? Sealing the edge in the running game, and he's such an underrated pass catcher. He just hadn't had a lot of opportunities. I don't know. I'm not coming on here and arguing he's a difference in 4 more wins. I'm just we've not talked about it at all. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think the issue with the offense was like talent. So I don't know. Right.
Yeah. Understood. All right. Well, again, it's going to be a whale of a month. I mean,
it's going to be insane. We got signing day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Auburn's about to add a ton of super, super talented guys that are going to pave the way to the future of this program, which is super, super exciting.
Yep.
Auburn plays Duke tomorrow night.
Yeah.
It's going to be a blast. And then, the portal opens officially on Monday. There's already been quarterbacks who have entered that Auburn's somewhat linked to and interested in. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun month.
I love Auburn X, formerly Auburn Twitter. One of my favorite components is the quote tweet of every possible transfer with any type of exciting stat line from last year. And the trying to compel that person come to Auburn. Like, let's add 60 guys. Let's add everybody that jumps in. I love that.
I love it. I mean, I'm a huge Pats fan. It's probably my biggest fandom is the Patriots. And that's what happens whenever somebody doesn't get re-signed and they're testing free agency. It's like, my team has a chance. They have a 1 in 32 chance to get this guy.
Yeah.
And now college has that. And it's incredible. It's so fun for the folks in it, the coaching staff and all that. I can't imagine how much of a headache this next month is going to be. But man, for the fan aspect of it and, just doing multiple shows about this every day, like it's so fun.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of driving through a neighborhood and looking at Christmas decorations and going, oh, that looks good. Let's go get one of those. Let's go to the store and get, what is that, a 30-foot inflatable reindeer? Let's have that at our house. Let's go get that right away. Let's just go gather it up and add all the stuff we see others have, and let's go put it in our yard. That's what I think of.
What's your favorite type of Christmas decoration? Outdoor.
Oh, man. That's a really good question. I like the wire statue type. They're not statue, but like a Christmas tree that's just the wire with the lights wrapping around it, spiral style.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I like that. I like those pretty well.
I think that's a little timeless and classic. I get it. Sure.
Well, just like me, timeless and classic.
That's you. It's Brad Law.
Hey, on your tree, white lights or colored lights?
So my whole life, I like the white lights.
Mm-hmm.
And on my Christmas tree, there's like, you hit the button and like toggles through like 7 different, some are white and then some are like the, different ones. Some are flashing or whatever.
Fancy.
Since having kids, she's figured out she can push it and she likes the like flashing multiple colored lights. And so that's what we do now.
That's good. I'll tell you what I like. I like
both, I guess.
I like the big colored lights. I have both on my tree. I have small white lights, but I also have the big bulb color lights. Love those. Have been my favorite since my grandparents had them on their real tree out in the country when I was a kid. And I'm just since then I go, that's where it's at. The big bulbs. Cool. I like big bulbs. I cannot lie.
All right. I think that does it for today's show.
It does. Check out the Barn Auburn and hey, follow everything that you want to follow for signing day, for basketball, for the portal, everything, thebarnauburn.com. Hit that subscribe button and remember, until next time, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.